Hello to everyone. Welcome and thank you for registering to this webinar organized by the ICLEI World Secretariat for potential applicants to the Transformative Actions Program, or the TAP. This webinar will be about introducing and explaining the TAP. I'm Annabelle Roblin, Junior Officer at the World Secretariat. I am working on project development regarding the TAP and also COP21, where ICLEI and partners are organizing a TAP Pavilion. I will present this webinar today together with Atte Oksanen, who is also working at the World Secretariat as Junior Officer on Advocacy and COP21. So Atte, if you would like to introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks Annabelle, and welcome to everyone to today's webinar. So as Annabelle said, I work with her here at the ICLEI World Secretariat in the COP21 TAP team. And I will be taking you through the application process and especially the application form a little bit later on in the webinar.
Thank you, Atte. So just a few words on the technical matter. So you will be muted during the whole duration of this webinar, at least during the presentation part. In the meantime, you may already type your questions in the question box that you should be able to see in your on your interface, and we will address them at the end of the webinar during our question and answer session. During this question and answer session, you will also be able to raise your hand to ask your question. You will be unmuted, and you will be able to ask directly your questions to us. So, as I said, there will be two parts in this webinar. So, first of all, a presentation, 25-minute presentation approximately, where we will take you through the TAP, introducing and explaining the concept of the TAP and its meaning for ICLEI's work and strategy, the content of the program, that is the 4 pillars of the TAP, and then some general information on the TAP 2015 application and selection process, that is the selection of TAP projects in the run-up to COP21 next December. So this will include information on the timeline of the process, on the selection criteria, on the application form, and on the selection process. And so, as I said, then we will have a question and answer session where you will be able to ask your questions and we'll answer them. So also as a complement to this webinar, we will send you afterwards a link to a video presentation made by Yunus Arikan, who is the head of global policy and advocacy here at ICLEI. And this video will give you some more background information about the international climate negotiations and ICLEI's work towards in this process and towards COP21. So let's start now with what is the TAP. So the TAP is a 10-year program, the purpose of which is to accelerate implementation of climate actions of local and regional governments, both in the pre-2020 and the post-2020 period, while raising the level of ambition at all levels, local, national, and international. So to be more specific, the TAP will seek to improve access to existing capital flows to cities and regions, and also to catalyze additional capital flows from both public and private investors. So to give you some background information on the TAP is a response to a previous attempt by local and subnational governments to push for a 10-year action program to be adopted within the UN FCCC framework. This proposal was put forward in the framework of the Local Government Climate Roadmap in 2013. And so following up with this effort, now ICLEI and partners have launched the TAP outside of the UN FCCC process, while hoping, of course, that at some point in the future it will feed into this process. So coming back to the two missions or ambitions of the TAP has two separate but closely interrelated missions. One is political, and one is the climate mission of the TAP, we can say. So regarding the political mission, The political mission of the TAP is really supported by ICLEI's key role as the focal point of the local government and municipal authorities constituency, or what you may know as LGMA, in the UNFCCC negotiations. And so, as such, ICLEI represents cities and local and regional governments and defends their interests in the international climate negotiations. And so, in this context, the TAP will advocate for better and quicker access to larger amounts of climate finance for cities and regions. Why? Because this is where climate change can be tackled effectively, as we know, and because effective climate action at all levels has become urgent. So, as we know, there are a number of challenges linked to climate change and also to increasing urbanization. And so, importantly, by engaging in the TAP and putting forward proposals of transformative action, then local governments and their networks will pursue and intensify their efforts to bridge the gap between negotiations and the implementation process. And that's a key point. And so this leads us to the climate mission of the TAP, which is also very important, of course. That is that the TAP aims to mobilize cities and regions to design these transformative and bankable climate actions, to collect and showcase these actions, and where possible, the TAP also aims to assist the pre-brokering between local and regional governments on the one hand and financing bodies on the other hand. So before I continue, let me just clarify what ICLEI and partners can do for cities and regions through the TAP. So what the TAP can do is to offer visibility to successful TAP projects, both through the Pavilion and the online platform, which I will talk about later on. The TAP will also offer the opportunity to engage more directly with representatives of the financial and business sector, who will also be invited to the Pavilion and to consult this online platform. So here again, I will talk about this later. And regarding the application process in itself, the TAP team here at the World Secretariat and in the regional offices can provide assistance in filling in the form, that is answering any question applicants may have. So this does not mean that we can gather the data for the applicant. This means that we can answer any questions, technical questions you may have on how to fill out the form, providing feedback, and also providing translations. So at the moment, the application form exists in English, French, Spanish, Portuguese, Korean, Chinese, and Japanese. And so importantly, applicants should note that the TAP does not guarantee the funding of the projects. As I said previously, ICLEI and partners can only assist in the pre-brokering between local governments and financing institutions, which means providing a platform, both virtual and physical, for these actors to meet and to explore opportunities for financing and implementation. But we cannot guarantee that if your project is selected, then it will have financing in the end. But however, again, the key bonus of the TAP is really the fact that it is supported by ICLEI's strong political role in the UNFCCC process, and also ICLEI is involved in a variety of other climate-related international fora. And so really, ICLEI, together with its partners, has a really strong advantage as a facilitator of this pre-brokering between cities and financing institutions. So moving on to how these two ambitions will be achieved. So the TAP will rely on two processes: the process of mobilization of key actors at all levels, and a process of visibilization of real and potential climate action. So this will be achieved through already existing tools, such as reporting platforms. But also, as I said before, the TAP will have its own tools, that is an online platform and TAP Pavilion at every COP, starting this year at COP21. And so the TAP really will guide ICLEI's work with and for cities and regions over the next 5 to 10 years. And it will really contribute to ICLEI's political agenda towards, but also beyond, COP21. Now, if we have a closer look at the content of the program, so The objectives of the tab translate in 4 action pillars that you can see on your screen. So first of all, the tab project pipeline, which is the process by which every year up to 100 tab projects are selected in the run-up to the COP and presented during the COP. And so during this process, cities and regions are mobilized to apply to the tab, supported in their application, as I said before. And so this stage obviously is already underway. And be aware that the final deadline for submitting an application is the 15th of September 2015. Regarding the tab platform, so this is what I was referring to as the online platform. So before the COP, all the projects submitted by cities and regions, whether they have been selected or not as tab projects, will be featured on this platform. The purpose of which is to centralize the projects and make them more visible, enable financing institutions, of course, to have access to relevant information about the project so that they can consider potential financing of the project. Turning to the tab pavilion, this is the physical space where the selected tab projects will be presented to national delegations, international donors, and financing agencies during the COP. And so, as I said, the first pavilion, the Cities and Regions Pavilion, or TAP 2015, will be organized at the COP21 this year from 30th of November to the 11th of December. And finally, the TAP Advocacy for Accelerated Climate Action. This will build on previous achievements in local climate advocacy and will diversify and strengthen it in various ways. So, of course, this work will seek to raise awareness of the potential of transformative local climate action. It will seek, importantly, to deepen the dialogue with national governments, promoting effective vertical integration between different levels of government, and also reinforce the engagement, of course, with international and national funding bodies and development agencies. And finally, continue to coordinate the information sharing on subnational climate finance on the various fora. And so overall, the TAP advocacy work will really seek to create this essential interaction nexus between all levels of government and to engage with financing bodies. So turning to the TAP 2015 application and selection process. So now you should be able to see the timeline of the process, which started early May, as you can see. As I mentioned, the next and final deadline will be on the 15th of September. To support the application process, several webinars, such as this one, are being organized. So the next one is going to be, and the final one is going to be on the 7th of September. The application form exists in several languages, as I said before, all downloadable from the TAP website. By the 15th of September is also the time when partners of the TAP will appoint members to sit in the selection committee. So that's also when the selection of TAP projects will start. Then mid-October at the latest, successful applicants will be notified whether or not they have been, well, successful applicants will be notified. And then towards the end of October, the online platform will be activated in preparation for the COP. And so finally, up to 100 projects will be presented in the pavilion during COP21. So now if we have a look at what is a TAP project, so when we talk about a TAP project, we can refer to 2 different types of projects: fast-track transformers or post-2020 transformers. They differ in 3 different respects. So first of all, the stage they have reached. That is, either they are already fully designed with a clear budget, a clear action plan, and a management structure that is already defined, or the projects only have a concept ready. Then in terms of the needs identified to enable the implementation of the project, either there's only a need for additional finance, either through investment or grants, or the project not only requires additional finance, but also additional advice and expertise in terms of capacity building, strategy development, technical and financial advice, etc. And so finally, regarding the implementation period, either the project will deliver results before 2020, so in that case it will be a fast track, or the results or the impact of the project will be achieved after 2020, and so in that case it would be classified as a post-2020 transformer. And so be aware that applicant can submit both type of projects now. There is no restriction on that. Now, if we look at the criteria for the overall selection and distribution of up to 100 TAB projects, the 5 criteria will be taken into account. So first of all, the level of transformative potential of the project, which I will define in the next slide. The regional balance of the projects, that is, we look at whether we look at the fact that the projects are distributed fairly equally between the north and the south. And then we look at the balance of mitigation and adaptation projects. We look also at a sectorial balance, that is, there can be projects in transport, in energy, in biodiversity, in housing, but also in education. So really we are looking for diversity in that respect. And finally, we are also looking for transparency. That is, we will look at how the different applications, how informed the different applications are. Now, if we look at the criteria for selecting individual projects, so the key point is that the project should have the potential to transform society. So what we mean by that is that the project should answer 3 criteria. It should be ambitious, it should be cross-cutting, it should be inclusive. So if we look closer at what this means, so you can see on your screen, first of all, ambitious. So projects can be either first-time projects, never implemented before, that will benefit a large proportion of the population, or they can be already existing and their transformative, as in their ambitious dimension, would lie in the fact that they will be scaled up and benefit a larger proportion of the population. In terms of cross-cutting, we look at how different communities will benefit from the project, how different types of resources will benefit in terms of management, so such as, well, sustainable energy, air quality, land use, procurement, etc. And we look also at how the project contributes to other subnational, national, and global sustainability goals. And finally, regarding the inclusive criterion, we look at how and if the project encourages cross-departmental coordination for an effective implementation of the project. We look at how the civil society is engaged in the project, how the project fosters also collaboration with other levels of government, and finally, how and if the business sector is engaged also in the implementation of the project. Right, so let's now turn to the TAP application form. So Atte will take you through the form.
Yes. Okay. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Annabelle. So I will be taking you through the application process a little bit here and through the application form itself. So to apply to the TAP, you have to go to the TAP website. So that's tap-potential.org, and you would have to go to the apply page that we're on right now. Now, as you'll see on this page, you can choose to apply either through the offline application form, which is right here, or through the online system. But if you're already reporting to the Carbon Climate Registry, you may prefer to use the online form because you can use the same login details and some of the content is common between the CCR and the TAP forms, such as the contact details, some of the data in the applicant profile, the climate commitments, and this information is already entered there in the CCR platform and will populate your TAP application form, which will save you some time and resources. But for applicants who are not reporting to the CCR, which is, as you may know, the world's leading reporting platform for local and subnational governments, you can decide to register at the same time as you are applying to the TAP, right here. I mean, you can register. You can choose to register to the CCR during your TAP application process, and this will enhance the transparency of your commitments. And it's a good opportunity to show your climate commitments and your leadership. So either you register on the online form, so that you would do here by registering here, and you'll be given login credentials to fill in your application. Or if you prefer, you can use the offline form, and you will be able to indicate if you like to report to Carbon in that form and at the same time as you apply to the TAP. So we can now start looking at the content of the form itself and at the form. Now I've downloaded the offline version for practical purposes. So to download the offline application form, you would be still here in the apply page, and it's a two-step process. I mean, the first step is, of course, for you to download the application form right here. Just like to point out as well that it's available in all these different languages now. And once you've filled out the application form with all the project details, etc., it should be submitted by going into step 2 right here, filling in some of the basic information right here, and submitting it to us by clicking on this Choose File button right here. Now, along with your application, you'll also be required to attach some supporting documents, such as your local government logo, greenhouse gas inventory, etc., in a compressed zip archive. Now, there are 3 ways of sending us these supporting documents. You can either do it right here by sending us a zip archive of your supporting documents by clicking the second Choose File button right here, which will upload and send us your supporting documents, or as an attachment to an email. I'll show you the email address a bit later on, or through the online application system once you've submitted your form and received login credentials to access the online version of your application. Because please note that the offline application forms submitted via this website will also be uploaded onto the online application system. Applicants who choose the offline option will also be given login credentials to access and edit their application later on through the online system. But do not worry, only the TAP team and the applicant will have access to the submitted information, of course. Now, I think it's time to move on to the application form itself. Unfortunately, we don't have time to go through all of the fields, as you'll see that there's quite a large number of them, but I'll take you through the main sections. Now, I think this is a good opportunity to stress that the form may seem a little lengthy, but it has been diligently designed to minimize the workload for applicants while still trying to capture the kind of detailed and comprehensive information on the projects that would really interest potential financiers of your project. Now, the application form is composed of 6 sheets. The first one is the one right here. It's called the Readme Sheet, with instructions that applicants should read carefully before starting to fill in the form. So there's information on the form itself and on how to upload various things. This tab will tell you that the green sheets in the application form are mandatory, and the only non-mandatory tab that doesn't need to be filled in is the blue one right here, which is the last one. It's called Applicant Commitments, and I'll show you that a bit later. It also tells you here that all fields that are marked with an asterisk are required mandatory fields. You'll see also in the application form that some fields are drop-down menus where you simply have to choose an option. and other fields are descriptive ones with manual entries, where you just type in your information. The fields in italics, which you'll find quite a few over here, for instance, they're there to collect complementary information. So they're not mandatory, but they will definitely enhance the value of the application. And of course, the more detail we have about your project, the better. There's also the same information that I told you about sending the supporting documents. Just one extra information as well is that we ask that in the fields where the supporting documents are requested, to please specify the full file name with the file extension in such fields. Now I'll show you that a bit later on. All right, so I think we can move on to the registration tab. Now this is just some basic information about the applicant, about a designated contact point for this project that is being submitted and to the tab, political liaison that works with the head of government, and towards the end here, we ask you to agree to some terms and conditions. Now, the only real condition here for our form is that you accept that the information provided in the next tab, the TAP Overview tab, can be made public on our online TAP platform that Annabelle talked to you about. But I'll show you the next tab in just a few seconds. And then later, there's also here towards the end a place where you can choose to indicate if you wish to report to the Carbon Climate Registry, as mentioned earlier. So now onto this next tab, that is the TAP Overview tab, and we like to call this the most important tab in the form because it is supposed to capture the transformative potential of your project to show how it fits into the 3 criteria that Annabelle mentioned earlier. The idea here is that by filling out this tab, you will be helping us in the selection process, especially in the first screening of all the projects. And as I said, we ask you to accept that the information provided in this particular tab can be made public on our TAP online platform that will be showcasing all of the submitted TAP projects and will be up and running in October. We ask you here to really tell the story of your application, of your project. What is transformative in one city or region will not be transformative in another. So it's important to show how your project is transformative within your own local context. And this will also be taken into account during the selection process by helping us better understand the specific conditions that you are under as an applicant. So I think we can move on to the next one, the Applicant Profile Tab. This is there to provide some background and contextual information about the applicant city or region. Among others, we ask you for some information about your government's climate ambitions. You'll see several fields here requesting that type of information. We ask for sectoral information as well that we invite the applicant to fill in for the sectors that are relevant to their government and to their project. Now, on to the next one, the Project Profile tab. Now, this is also quite an important tab as we ask you for some core and detailed information about the project. So about the concept of the project, right here, about the management structure of the project, and of course more detailed information on really the transformative potential of your project. For instance, we'll be looking at the co-benefits of the project in terms of sustainability, and here again we ask the applicant to only fill in the applicable fields that are relevant to their project. As well, in terms of the climate potential, now it can be either mitigation or adaptation, so we ask you to fill in the relevant fields for you. towards the end of this tab here, we ask you also to provide some information about the financial and technical feasibility, which is very important information for the financial institutions that will be looking at these projects. We ask you in this tab to provide quite a few supporting documents as well. So these are all marked with an asterisk. So you can upload them via the three methods that I mentioned earlier. And yet again, as I said before, it'd be great if you could write the full file name right here in these fields here. Now, if for any reason you cannot provide the mandatory data or the mandatory supporting documents, you should attach a note along with your application outlining the reasons why you cannot do so, and this will help the selection panel to understand your situation and the kind of obstacles that you've run into. Now onto the very last tab. This is the Applicants Commitment Tab. Now this is, as I said, the only one that is not mandatory. It's there if the local government that you represent has decided on specific climate targets, either mitigation or adaptation. You can report them in this sheet in order to show how the project that is submitted can help reach these targets, or how the commitment itself can be transformative. Now, if you choose the offline form, as indicated, once you have completed the offline application, you must upload it on the TAP website, as I showed you here, with the two-step process, together with the attachments in the three ways that I indicated earlier. Now, I think that's pretty much it for me. I'll hand it back over to Annabelle now.
Thank you very much, Atte. So I will just say now a few final words on the selection process. So just to say that two entities will be involved, so a TAP project selection panel, an expert committee, and so the principle is that each TAP partner, that is local government organizations, financing institutions, civil society, NGOs, etc., will appoint a representative to sit in the project selection panel and an expert to sit in the expert committee. And so the principle is that the expert committee will make recommendations to the TAP project selection panel. And a final information is that the process will be based on a consensus-seeking approach, that is rather than a strict voting system whereby a majority would win. The selection will rather be based on consensus-seeking approach, that is really looking for general agreements on what a good TAP project is. So that's it for today. Thank you very much for your attention.